Hey there, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're plunging into a topic that's evolving at, well, lightning speed.
Absolutely. It feels like it's touching everything now.
Artificial intelligence. And we've gathered quite a stack of sources for you.
A really significant collection this time, yeah.
We're exploring everything from these, big federal strategies
The national view.
right down to the really granular details of state-level legislation, what's happening on the ground. Our mission today isn't just, listing facts.
No, definitely not.
It's more about connecting the dots, uncovering some maybe surprising realities.
Yeah, there are quite a few of those.
And trying to give you a shortcut to understanding this complex, sometimes kind of chaotic landscape of AI policy right now.
It's a lot to keep track of.
Think of this as your essential guide, maybe, to how governments at all levels are grappling with the huge power and promise.
And the perils, too. Can't forget those.
And yes, the very real perils of AI.
It really is a dynamic space. And what's fascinating, I think, is just the sheer volume and the diversity of approaches we're seeing. You'll see that while there's sort of a federal vision emerging.
A guiding principle, maybe.
Well, right. But the states, they're really on the front lines, acting almost like laboratories, experimenting with this huge array of legislative actions, and often in areas you might not initially expect AI policy to even reach.
Exactly. You might think AI policy is all high-level tech stuff, right?
Yeah.
Focused purely on big data algorithms.
The technical side.
But our sources show it's impacting everything. Things like health insurance denials, whether your claim gets approved,
Very tangible impacts.
or election integrity, a huge one. Even what you pay for rent.
Yeah, that one's surprisingly active.
So are you ready to unpack this fascinating and, frankly, increasingly relevant topic?
Let's do it.
Let's dive in.
The federal compass guiding the AI frontier.
Okay, so before we zoom into that real flurry of activity happening at the state level, let's set the stage a bit. Let's look at the federal perspective first. Our sources highlight a significant AI action plan coming out of the U.S. government. From your analysis, what's the core philosophy driving this national approach? What are they trying to achieve?
Well, the overarching philosophy of the federal AI action plan seems pretty clear when you look closely. It's quite distinctly deregulatory and I'd say industry-aligned in its approach to AI governance.
Deregulatory.
Okay.
So less heavy-handed rules.
Exactly. Less about prohibitions or, restrictive new regulations that might slow things down. The focus is really squarely on fostering rapid innovation, rapid development, while still trying to manage the inherent risks.
Trying to find that balance.
Trying to find that balance, yes.
Okay.
It signals a strong desire within the federal government to keep the U.S. globally competitive. Because this is an intense race, right,
Okay.
for AI development and deployment. So they're trying to walk this very fine line. Avoid stifling regulation, but still address the really critical concerns. And if we dig a bit deeper, we can see several core principles underpinning this plan. First, as we said, there's that clear emphasis on deregulation. The plan really prioritizes minimizing burdens on AI development. The aim is to let industry innovate quickly without getting bogged down by, what they might see as excessive red tape.
Okay. Less friction for developers.
That seems to be the goal. Second, there's a very strong critical infrastructure focus. The plan explicitly targets AI's role, its crucial role in sectors like energy, telecommunications, cloud computing, advanced manufacturing.
Really foundational stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's not accidental. It implies a strategic view of AI is fundamental to national security and long-term economic strength. The government clearly sees AI as a foundational technology for these vital areas.
Yep.
And then finally, the entire plan, you read through it, it's framed with a very keen eye on international competition. It recognizes the strategic importance of global leadership in AI for the United States. It's a clear signal that the U.S. intends to be, at the forefront of this tech revolution.
Okay, so deregulation, focus on critical infrastructure, and maintaining that global competitive edge.
Those are the key pillars, yeah.
So what does this mean practically? For stakeholders, for businesses, maybe even for you, the listener, just trying to understand the market.
Right. The practical implications. If you're involved in these sectors or even just watching the market, you can probably anticipate several outcomes. For instance, when it comes to funding, you should expect specific discretionary funding criteria that align pretty closely with the plan's stated priorities. That's going to steer research and development towards these strategic areas we mentioned.
So the money follows the plan's priorities.
Basically, yes. Where the federal money goes, AI innovation will likely follow, particularly in things like critical infrastructure. Now, in terms of enforcement, while the approach does lean deregulatory overall, there will certainly still be targeted enforcement. It'll likely focus on areas where AI intersects with those critical infrastructure sectors or clear national security concerns.
So managing the highest stakes risks.
Precisely. And industries will also need to keep a close eye on compliance. Things like regulatory reviews, updates to export controls, these could significantly shape their operational environment. For U.S. companies working in AI, these export controls, for example, they'll directly impact what AI technologies can be shared or sold internationally.
Affecting global market strategies.
Big time. So while the federal hand might feel lighter on, say, broad regulation across the board, it's actually quite strategic in where it applies pressure and directs resources.
That's a really crucial distinction. It sounds like the federal government is sketching out the big picture, maybe with a lighter touch on direct day-to-day regulation. But a heavier, more strategic focus on national security, economic leadership, those big pieces.
That seems to be the approach.
But, okay, if that's the federal approach, what does it mean for the states? Are they just sitting back waiting for federal guidance? Or are they, like you said, forging their own paths to tackle the more immediate ground-level impacts of AI?
And this is where it gets really interesting, because the answer is definitely not passive. They are not waiting.
States on the front lines, a mosaic of AI legislation.
Exactly. And this really raises that important question. How do states respond when you have this broad federal framework, but also all these immediate local concerns about AI popping up?
Right, things affecting people directly, day to day.
Precisely. And our sources show that state governments are absolutely not waiting. They're incredibly active. Often they're pioneering approaches to AI governance that are far more granular, far more specific than the federal strategy.
How active are we talking?
Just consider the sheer scale. In the 2025 legislative session alone, get this, all 50 states, plus Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, and Washington, D.C., introduced AI-related legislation.
All 50. Serious.
Every single one, plus the territories. That's universal engagement across the board.
Wow. That's unexpected.
It is. And it's not just talk, it's action. 38 states actually adopted or enacted around 100 measures this year.
100 measures enacted in 1 year?
Roughly, yes. It demonstrates a really rapid response and, importantly, a vast diversity of approaches. It's this massive, decentralized effort to govern AI, and it reflects the unique priorities and challenges faced by different states, different regions.
So what's driving all this? Why this sudden, huge surge?
Well, there seem to be two main drivers. On one hand, states are looking to leverage AI to improve their own government services. Things like enhancing customer service for citizens, improving the efficiency of, say, healthcare facility inspections, making roadways safer using AI.
Using AI for public good.
Right. But concurrently, and perhaps more urgently right now, these legislative efforts are also a direct response to, as one source put it, robust discussions regarding the concerns about potential misuse or unintended consequences of AI.
So dealing with the downsides, the risks.
Exactly. States are trying to both embrace the promise and mitigate the peril of this technology, often at a very local, very tangible level.
Okay, that's an incredible level of activity. It really underscores how quickly AI is just permeating public life, isn't it?
Yeah.
From the biggest state agencies down to like our personal interactions online.
It's moving fast.
Given this widespread engagement, let's try and break this down. Let's look at some of the major categories of legislation that states are pursuing. Where are they focusing their energy?
Safeguarding individuals, consumer protection, and disclosure.
Okay, one area where states seem to be really stepping up is consumer protection. You, the listener, you're interacting with AI probably more than you even realize, right? Customer service, online content.
Chatbots, recommendation engines, yeah.
And states want to make sure you're not being misled or harmed in these digital interactions.
Absolutely. This whole category is really about transparency and preventing deceptive practices. Many states are recognizing this fundamental need for individuals to clearly know when they're interacting with an AI.
Not a human.
Right. Or when an AI system is making decisions that directly affect them, especially in commercial settings or public services. And it goes beyond just knowing about a robot. It gets into the nuance of what a human interaction really means in this digital age.
Okay, so how are they doing that? What kind of laws are we seeing?
Well, let's start with bot disclosure and human interaction. States are literally creating legal requirements to identify AI. For instance, Maine actually enacted legislation, House Bill 1154A. It prohibits using AI chatbots in trade and commerce in a way that misleads a consumer into thinking they're interacting with a human.
Unless.
Unless there's clear and conspicuous notification provided. Sets a pretty high bar for transparency, right? Similarly, Hawaii has pending bills H639 and S640 that require corporations, organizations, even individuals in commercial transactions to inform consumers when they are interacting with a chatbot or other tech that mimics human interaction. And what's interesting there is these bills also suggest that developers selling these chatbots would have to disclose that they use AI and that they can mimic human behavior.
So disclosure from both the user-facing side and the developer side.
Potentially, yes. And then in California, Assembly Bill 410 would require bots to disclose they are not human when first communicating with a person, with the Attorney General able to bring civil action for noncompliance. And Puerto Rico has a pending bill aiming for a Transparency and Right to Human Interaction in Public Services Assisted by AI Act. That title says a lot.
It really does.
Yeah.
Right to human interaction. Okay, so identifying bots is one piece. What else?
Well, beyond just knowing if you're talking to a bot, there's this growing concern about provenance and authenticity.
Meaning, where did this digital content come from? Is it real?
Exactly. Knowing what's real and where it originates. This is critical in an era of easily generated synthetic media, deepfakes, all that. So, California's AI Transparency Act, Assembly Bill 853, which is pending, would require large online platforms to actually retain provenance data for content posted on their sites. It also pushes device manufacturers, cameras, phones, to enable provenance data to be included in captured content, basically embedding its origin from the moment of creation.
So like a digital watermark, but more sophisticated.
Kind of. Provenance data often involves embedding verifiable info, maybe cryptographically, into the content file itself, making its origin traceable and harder to tamper with. It's a technical challenge to implement widely, for sure, but states see it as crucial for building trust online.
Which is eroding pretty fast.
Unfortunately, yes, and we see similar pushes elsewhere. New York has pending legislation, S6954, requiring synthetic content creation systems, the tools that make this stuff, to apply provenance data to the content they generate or modify. Florida had bills proposing provenance requirements and pilot programs, though they failed this session. Same with Virginia. It shows the idea is definitely circulating.
Okay, provenance is key for verifying content.
Yeah.
Anything else under consumer protection?
Yes, a third key element is providing clear warnings about AI output. Because AI, especially generative AI like chatbots, isn't always accurate. It can make stuff up, it can be biased, it can produce harmful content.
The hallucination problem we hear about.
Exactly. So several states are proposing warnings. For example, New York has pending bills A3411 and S934 that require generative AI system operators to conspicuously display a warning right on the user interface. Something like, outputs may be inaccurate and either inappropriate.
Just a clear heads up to the user.
Right. Illinois has a similar pending bill, S1792. These measures reflect a legislative understanding that AI, while powerful, is not infallible. Users need to be aware of its limitations, its potential for error, or maybe even generating harmful stuff.
It's almost like a digital buyer beware, isn't it?
Yeah.
But for interactions and information, aiming to give you more control, more awareness.
That's a good way to put it.
And it's not just about knowing a bot is a bot, but also being able to, hopefully, verify the origin of digital content. That feels huge in our current information environment.
Absolutely critical.
What's striking here is how quickly states are moving from just general bot awareness to defining these really nuanced aspects, like human-like interaction or content provenance. It shows the legal system is really grappling with this
They're
stuff.
trying to keep pace.
Cooperating the government, public sector, AI use and oversight.
Okay, so states are looking out for citizens in their interactions with, say, private companies using AI, but they're also turning the lens inward, right? Examining how they themselves, government agencies, are using AI.
Exactly. And this isn't just about efficiency or modernization, though that's part of it.
It's about fairness, accountability.
Yes, ensuring fairness, accountability, and really maintaining public trust when government services start using these powerful tools. Governments are in this unique position. They're both users and regulators of AI.
Dual role.
Right. So a significant chunk of state legislation focuses on establishing internal frameworks, conducting studies, and ensuring responsible AI use within their own agencies. They recognize that if AI is going to be trusted in public service, its deployment has to be transparent and really rigorously managed.
So what does that look like in practice? What are states actually doing?
Well, let's look at some examples of internal use and policy development. Arkansas, with House Bill 1958, enacted a pretty foundational requirement. Public entities simply must create a clear policy concerning their authorized use of AI.
Starting with the basics, have a policy.
It sounds simple, but it's a crucial first step. Montana's House Bill 178, also enacted, goes quite a bit further. It limits the use of AI systems by state and local government, prohibits certain uses entirely, and requires disclosure of AI applications. And critically, it mandates that decisions or recommendations made by AI have to be reviewed by a human, a qualified human in an appropriate position.
There's that human in the loop idea again.
It's a recurring, absolutely critical theme. We see it everywhere. Kansas enacted a security-focused measure, H 2313, prohibiting the use of AI platforms of concern that likely refers to platforms linked to foreign adversaries on state-issued devices and networks.
A cybersecurity angle.
Definitely. And Indiana enacted Senate Bill 5, allowing state agencies to use AI software for preparing certain statements. But it requires reports to their budget committee detailing any new federal fund requests related to AI projects. So, financial oversight. Illinois has a pending bill, S 1366, the State Government AI Act, which would require their Department of Innovation and Technology to adopt rules for AI development, procurement, deployment, and assessment by all state agencies. A comprehensive internal framework.
And New York. They seem active in a lot of these areas.
They are. New York enacted legislation, A 433 S 822, related to automated decision-making by state agencies. It requires impact assessments and the maintenance of an AI inventory, basically, a list of where AI is being used. And importantly, it clarifies that AI use cannot affect existing employee rights or collective bargaining agreements.
Addressing potential workforce concerns within government itself.
Directly, yes.
Okay, so setting policies, some restrictions. What else are governments doing internally?
Well, many states are also prioritizing studies, task forces, and advisory councils. They want to explore the complexities of AI before enacting potentially sweeping legislation.
Learn before you leap.
Something like that. Alaska, for example, has a pending resolution, HCR 3, to establish a joint legislative task force on AI to study its use across various sectors, government, industry, education. Delaware did something really interesting. They enacted a bill, H16, that adds a high school student as a non-voting member to their state AI commission.
A high school student?
Yeah, prioritizing those with a demonstrated interest in AI. It's a fascinating way to get youth input into future policy, isn't it?
Absolutely, forward thinking.
Mississippi successfully established an AI regulation task force, H1535 S2426, enacted to study AI applications, risks, and make policy recommendations. Explicitly includes reviewing privacy and data protection. We see similar advisory councils and task forces pending in states like New Jersey, A4400 S33507, and Illinois, H3646, focusing on generative AI used by state agencies. It shows this widespread commitment to informed policy development.
It's not just rushing into laws, but building understanding first.
In many cases, yes. And beyond studies, states are actually backing these initiatives with real money appropriations and investment. Florida enacted a budget bill, S2500, that included significant appropriations for AI projects across state government and education. That's a clear financial commitment. Louisiana did something very specific. House Bill 1 appropriated funds for the Lafourche Parish District Attorney's Office to partner with Nichols State University.
To do what?
To enhance their investigative capabilities using AI. A very practical, targeted application.
Interesting.
And other states like Alabama and Wyoming had proposed appropriations for AI, cybersecurity, and building internal expertise, even if those specific bills failed this round. The intent is there.
Okay, so policies, studies, funding.
Yeah.
You mentioned that human oversight requirement earlier. Is that a strong theme in government use too?
Oh, absolutely. A critical, recurring theme across government use of AI is this emphasis on human oversight in government decision-making. Virginia enacted House Bill 1642, which requires that recommendations or predictions from AI tools used for criminal justice purposes, think pretrial release, sentencing, probation, parole decisions.
Really high stakes.
Extremely high stakes. The law requires those AI recommendations be reviewed and approved by a qualified human decision maker. This is absolutely critical for maintaining human accountability where individual freedoms are on the line.
So the AI can suggest, but a human has the final say.
That's the principle. And New York has a pending bill, a 1778, that takes an even broader stance. It proposes prohibiting state agencies from using large language models or AI systems to make decisions affecting individuals' rights, benefits, or services at all. It explicitly requires human personnel to make those decisions.
Wow, that's quite restrictive.
It is. It shows the spectrum of approaches. But these measures clearly illustrate this conscious legislative effort to ensure AI serves as a tool and aid.
Not the ultimate decider.
Right? Not replacing human judgment, especially when the outcomes have profound consequences for citizens' lives.
That's a powerful and honestly pretty reassuring trend. It sounds like a really strong push to make sure government services are maybe improved by AI, enhanced by it, but not replaced by it, particularly when it comes to decisions affecting people's lives. That human-in-the-loop requirement, it seems like a really significant common thread.
It really is. It reflects this desire to maintain accountability and, frankly, ethical standards, even as the technology races ahead.
Yeah, it highlights that core tension, doesn't it? Using these powerful new tools while trying to keep human control and values central.
Ethical AI preventing harm and ensuring fairness.
Okay, so states are making sure bots disclose themselves, governments are managing their own AI use with human oversight. But there's a deeper concern, isn't there, about how the AI behaves?
Yes, beyond just transparency and process.
What are states doing to ensure the AI systems themselves are, well, fair, unbiased, that they don't lead to discrimination or other kinds of unintended harm against you, the citizen?
This is a truly huge area and probably one of the most active areas of legislation right now. States are really grappling with how to translate ethical principles of responsible AI, into actual law. This often involves requiring things like detailed impact assessments and proactively promoting non-discrimination in how algorithms function.
So trying to build trust not just in the data going in, but in the algorithms themselves and the decisions they spit out.
Exactly. It's about the whole system. And a primary focus here is combating algorithmic discrimination and bias. This is where AI systems can, sometimes inadvertently, sometimes systematically, produce unfair or discriminatory outcomes based on protected characteristics, race, gender, age, etc.
Like redlining, but done by an algorithm.
That's a good analogy, yeah. And Illinois has a really strong pending bill here, Senate Bill 124. It would require insurers to demonstrate actively prove that their marketing, underwriting, rating, claims handling, fraud investigations, and any algorithms or models they use do not disparately impact any group of customers based on protected characteristics like race, color, sex, religion, and so on.
That's proactive. They have to show non-discrimination.
It's a proactive, systemic anti-discrimination measure. Very significant if it passes. In New York, we see pending legislation, the New York AI Consumer Protection Act, 768S, 1962, explicitly aiming to prevent the use of AI algorithms to discriminate against protected classes. Hawaii has similar pending proposals that prohibit using algorithmic decision-making in a discriminatory manner for eligibility determinations and require notices to individuals whose data is used. They might even require annual reports to the Attorney General if algorithmic decisions are found to be discriminatory. And Georgia has a pending bill, S-167, that broadly requires private entities using certain AI systems for consequential decisions to guard against discrimination caused by those systems.
Consequential decisions, that term seems important.
It is. It signals a focus on AI applications that have significant impacts on people's lives, things like hiring, credit, housing, insurance.
Okay, so anti-discrimination is key. What about identifying risks before they cause harm?
Right, and that leads to the importance of impact assessments and risk management. These are mechanisms designed to proactively identify and mitigate potential harms from AI systems, ideally before they're deployed. California has some comprehensive pending bills here, A1018 and S420. They'd require deployers of covered automated decision systems or high-risk automated decision systems.
Defining different risk levels.
Exactly. They'd have to provide disclosures, offer opt-out opportunities for consumers, allow appeals of decisions, and even submit to third-party audits. And crucially, developers and deployers would have to perform impact assessments before public release or deployment.
Assessing potential harms up front.
Yes, ensuring proactive evaluation. Similarly, Illinois has pending bills, H3567, H3720, that mandate impact assessments for state agencies using automated decision-making, and they reinforce that idea of meaningful human review. Maryland had proposed bills, H331, S936, failed, that would have regulated developers and deployers to protect consumers, requiring impact assessments and risk management policies, especially for high-risk AI systems. And Rhode Island also has pending legislation, S627, establishing regulations for the ethical development, integration, and deployment of high-risk AI systems. It would require developers to use reasonable care implement risk management policies, and conduct regular impact assessments.
So a lot of focus on these impact assessments, especially for high-risk applications.
It's becoming a core component of responsible AI governance frameworks, embedding a culture of caution and continuous evaluation into the whole AI lifecycle.
We talked about human oversight in government. Are states extending that principle to the private sector too?
In some specific high-stakes areas, yes. Extending human oversight into the private sector when AI is used in critical decisions. South Carolina, for example, has a pending bill, S443, that directly addresses healthcare. It would require a licensed physician to supervise and review healthcare coverage decisions that are derived from an automated decision-making tool.
So a doctor has to sign off, not just an algorithm.
Exactly. Ensures a human medical professional retains ultimate authority in those patient care determinations. Similarly, Maryland enacted a law, H. 820, requiring carriers, pharmacy benefits managers, and private review agents. The companies often making prior authorization decisions to ensure AI or other software tools are used in a certain manner when conducting utilization review. The specifics aren't fully detailed in the source, but it implies a framework for human oversight and likely limits the autonomy of these systems in making purely automated medical decisions.
This feels like it's really about holding the systems accountable, doesn't it? Not just the people using them.
I think that's right.
It's pushing this idea that if AI is going to make significant decisions, especially in critical areas like insurance, employment, healthcare, we need checks and balances built into the technology itself, or at least mandated in the process.
It's a fascinating evolution. Ethical considerations are moving firmly into the legal sphere, becoming requirements, not just guidelines.
The dark side, criminal uses, and safety concerns.
Okay, we've talked about making AI fair and transparent. But unfortunately, like any powerful technology, AI can be misused, right? For malicious purposes.
Sadly, yes. The potential for harm is significant.
And our sources show a really strong legislative focus on the criminal applications of AI. Things like harassment, stalking, and especially the creation of explicit content.
It's a stark reminder of the darker side that lawmakers feel they must proactively address.
So what are they doing?
States are moving quite quickly, actually, to either expand existing criminal laws or create entirely new ones to address these malicious uses, particularly those that exploit or harm individuals. And interestingly, some legislation is even starting to touch on the fundamental legal definition of personhood in the context of AI, which has huge implications for responsibility and rights down the line.
Okay, let's start with the really disturbing stuff. AI-generated child sexual abuse material, CSAM, and other non-consensual explicit content.
States are taking this extremely seriously, as they should. Arizona, for instance, enacted House Bill 2678. It explicitly includes visual depictions indistinguishable from an actual minor that were created or modified by software or AI.
So synthetic images.
Right, synthetic images that look real. It includes them in the definition of dangerous crime against children, essentially criminalizing these synthetic images just as if they were real photographs or videos of abuse.
That's a strong stance.
It is. Arkansas enacted similar legislation, H. 1877, concerning criminal offenses related to possessing sexually explicit material depicting a child, and it explicitly includes computer-generated image that is indistinguishable from the image of a child. Minnesota enacted House Bill 2432, which amends their definitions of child sexual abuse material to specifically include materials created by generative AI. And they have another pending bill, S-1577, that explicitly prohibits AI-generated CSAM. We see many other states. Texas, H-149 enacted. Tennessee, H-1299 S-11346 enacted, addressing intimate digital depictions, including AI-generated ones. West Virginia, S-198 enacted, clarifying offenses for fabricated intimate images and computer-generated child pornography, taking robust measures. North Dakota even initiated a study, H-1410 enacted, to review their laws related to criminal conduct against children, specifically looking at terminology in light of AI's capabilities.
From a really widespread effort to close any loopholes AI might create in these critical child protection laws.
Absolutely. They're trying to make sure the law keeps up with the technology of harm.
Okay, another major area of concern, especially lately, is deep fakes and impersonation, particularly in politics, right?
Yes, particularly in politically sensitive contexts like elections, but also more broadly with identity theft. Several states have moved quickly to regulate this. North Dakota enacted a law, H. 1167, requiring political communications and advertising that use AI to visually or audibly impersonate a human.
Like faking a candidate's voice or video?
Exactly. It requires those communications to prominently display a disclaimer, a crucial transparency measure for voters.
So you know what you're seeing or hearing might not be real.
That's the idea. Montana, S25 enacted, South Dakota S164 enacted, and Rhode Island H5852 SC16 enacted, have all passed laws directly regulating the use of deepfakes in election communications. They provide definitions, require disclosures, and establish penalties for using deceptive or fraudulent synthetic media specifically to influence elections. Maryland had failed bills, H525 S361, trying to prohibit using synthetic media to influence a voter's decision. New York has the pending Political AI Disclaimer Paid Act, S2414, requiring disclosure. Illinois has a similar pending bill, S150.
So lots of action around election integrity. What about general impersonation?
Yes, that's being addressed too. New Jersey has a pending bill, A3912, that would extend the crime of identity theft to explicitly include fraudulent impersonation or false depiction by means of AI or deepfake technology. Widens the net of criminal liability. Alabama had a failed bill, H516, that would have made it an unlawful trade practice to use a computer to interact with a consumer when the consumer believes they're interacting with a human, a broader anti-impersonation measure. And Maryland had other failed bills, H1425, S905, proposing to prohibit using AI or deepfakes for certain harmful purposes, like harassment or fraud, and allowing civil actions for victims.
Okay, so CSAM, deepfakes. Are there other novel criminal uses states are looking at?
Yes, some states are being remarkably specific and, frankly, proactive in addressing new forms of harm. For instance, AI for stalking and harassment. North Dakota enacted House Bill 1429. This one is quite specific and maybe even a bit ahead of its time. It expands their current harassment and stalking laws to explicitly prohibit using an AI-powered robot to stalk or harass individuals.
An AI-powered robot, wow.
Yeah, it acknowledges a potential new physical vector for abuse using AI-controlled devices. And New York has a pending bill, S6278, establishing the crime of aggravated harassment by means of electronic or digital communication. This specifically includes the unlawful dissemination of deepfakes, particularly those altered to depict pornographic acts or graphic violence, targeting the emotional and reputational harm.
It's like they're trying to anticipate the next wave of misuse.
It seems so. And this leads to the really tricky question of liability for AI actions. Who is responsible when an AI causes harm?
The developer, the user, the AI itself.
Well, states are starting to grapple with that. California has a pending bill, A316, that directly addresses this. It would prohibit a defendant, say, a company that developed or used AI, from asserting a defense that the AI autonomously caused the harm.
So you can't blame the algorithm.
That's what this bill aims to prevent. It seeks to stop developers or users from evading responsibility by claiming the AI acted independently, like a rogue agent.
Keeps the accountability human.
That's the goal. Maryland had a failed bill, H589, that proposed strict liability and civil penalties for persons who intentionally, knowingly, or negligently design or create AI software that could cause physical injury or death if that software is actually used for such purposes. And New York has a pending bill, AA6545, that would impose liability for damages caused by a chatbot impersonating licensed professionals like doctors or therapists, or giving faulty medical or psychological advice, directly addressing harm from misinformation.
These liability questions are huge. And you mentioned personhood.
Yes, and this is a fascinating, almost philosophical development finding its way into law. Some states are beginning to legislate on the fundamental concept of AI personhood. Tennessee has pending bills, H849, S837, that explicitly define terms like human being, life, and natural person for the purpose of statutory construction, how laws are interpreted. And these definitions explicitly exclude AI, computer algorithms, software, hardware, or any type of machine.
Drawing a very clear line. AI is not human, legally speaking.
Exactly. It's a foundational legal distinction, seemingly aimed at preventing future claims of AI having legal rights or standing similar to humans. Oregon enacted a law, H2748, that's a practical application of this. It prohibits a non-human entity, explicitly including an AI agent, from using specific licensed and certified medical professional titles like registered nurse.
So an AI can't call itself a nurse.
Right. It reinforces that professional roles, especially licensed ones, remain distinctly human. Missouri, H721, failed, and South Carolina, H3796, pending, have proposed bills prohibiting governmental entities from granting legal personhood to certain objects or items which could encompass AI.
That AI-powered robot law in North Dakota really does paint a picture, doesn't it? It highlights how legislators are actively trying to anticipate these new forms of harm before they become widespread.
It shows a certain foresight, yeah.
And these discussions around AI, personhood, and liability,
Yeah.
they feel like they're going to be absolutely critical as these systems get more sophisticated, more more integrated into everything we do.
Foundational questions for the future, definitely.
It really underscores the depth of the challenges legislators are facing. Trying to keep up with the sheer pace of technological change and its potential impacts, both good and bad.
It's a constant catch-up game.
Economic and workforce impact jobs, skills, and investment.
Okay, moving beyond the legal and ethical quandaries and the criminal side, there's also this huge economic ripple effect from AI, right?
Absolutely. Massive potential impacts on jobs, skills, investment, the whole economy.
So from automation maybe threatening jobs to the need for entirely new skills.
Yeah.
How are states preparing their workforce? How are they trying to attract AI investment? And how are they addressing that potential for job displacement, making sure that you, the citizen, aren't just left behind by this rapid tech shift?
Yeah, this is that classic challenge for states, isn't it?
Yeah.
How do you foster innovation for economic growth while also mitigating the disruptive potential, particularly for the workforce?
So balancing act again.
Exactly. And education, training, and strategic investment are really common and, frankly, crucial themes in this category of legislation. States are trying to adapt to a rapidly changing economic landscape.
So where's the focus? Education first.
A significant area of focus is definitely AI in education and training, preparing the current and future workforce. Iowa, for example, enacted Senate Bill 647, appropriating funds specifically to address critical workforce needs in STEM fields. It aims to expand degree and certificate programs in AI, cybersecurity, computer science, data science, the key areas for the future.
Investing directly in skills.
Directly. Louisiana adopted a resolution, H.R. 320, requesting their state education departments and boards to promote AI education for K-12 students and encourage professional development for teachers and staff, recognizing that educators need to be equipped too.
Training the trainers.
Precisely. Ohio enacted House Bill 96, requiring their Department of Education and Workforce to develop a model policy on AI use in schools, addresses appropriate use by both students and staff for educational purposes. New Jersey enacted funding, a 4700, for AI career and technical education expansion and also for AI innovation grants in education. New York has pending bills, A7029, S7892, directing their Commissioner of Education to make recommendations on incorporating AI system literacy into curricula right from elementary through senior high school.
Starting young.
Yes. And Virginia had a failed bill, H1051, proposing guidelines on how computer science and AI courses could satisfy high school graduation requirements. Mississippi had a similar failed bill, S2535, proposing a required computer science credit, including AI concepts for graduation. And Washington State has appropriations pending, H11197 S5166, for the city of Seattle to lease space for nonprofits and academic institutions.
For what purpose?
To incubate AI tech startups and develop and teach curricula specifically to skill up workers to use AI as a business resource, directly linking education to workforce needs and economic development.
So a widespread effort to embed AI literacy and skills into the education system at all levels.
It seems to be becoming a priority across the board. AI literacy is looking like the new fundamental literacy.
Okay, education is one part. What about the other side of the coin, the potential for workforce impact and job displacement? That's a huge concern for many people.
It is, and states are definitely grappling with how to quantify this and how to respond.
Hmm.
Florida proposed a bill, H827, vetoed S936, failed, that would have required a bureau within their Department of Commerce to specifically study the economic impact of automation, AI, and robotics on employment in the state.
Trying to get a handle on the scope of the challenge.
Right. Just understanding it first. More proactively, New Jersey has a pending bill, A4888, that would establish an AI and labor market study commission. Its job would be to analyze AI's impact, identify jobs at high risk of displacement, and importantly, create a job transition fund to support workers who are actually displaced by AI.
So a potential safety net funded somehow.
That seems to be the idea. And New York has that pending Workforce Stabilization Act, S1854 we mentioned. It would require AI impact assessments from businesses regarding their workforce. And it even proposes a surcharge on certain corporations that displace employees with AI.
A tax on automation.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
Using that revenue, presumably, to fund worker transitions or support programs. It's a novel idea, certainly controversial, but it shows states are thinking about new mechanisms. Pennsylvania, S293 pending, is looking at requiring a report on AI in the workforce from their relevant departments. Georgia, H.R. 815 pending, is even creating a House study committee specifically on exploring the potential for humanoids and robotics in Georgia workforce development.
Humanoids and robotics. Sounds futuristic, but maybe not that far off.
maybe not.
Okay, so addressing displacement is one side. What about actively encouraging AI growth, investment in economic development?
Yes, to balance these challenges, states are definitely focusing on harnessing AI for growth too. New Mexico enacted House Bill 20, creating a technology and innovation division within their economic development department, and a research development and deployment fund to support projects promoting specific goals, including AI, an institutional framework to encourage tech growth.
Building state capacity.
Exactly. New Jersey enacted Senate Bill 3432, establishing the next New Jersey program for AI investments. This provides tax credits to eligible AI businesses and, interestingly, large-scale AI data centers.
A direct financial incentive to attract AI companies and infrastructure.
A very direct one, yes. Mississippi had failed bills, H 1489 S 2443, proposing a technology innovation fund to support tech projects, including AI, blockchain, cloud computing. And Washington has that pending bill, H 1942 we noted earlier, promoting economic development through appropriations for innovative AI uses.
So it really is that classic challenge, isn't it? How do you foster the innovation, attract the companies, get the economic benefits without leaving workers behind? States are clearly grappling with that from all angles: education, studying, displacement, transition funds, maybe even new taxes, alongside investment incentives.
It's a really complex balancing act, and the choices states make here will have profound implications for the future of work and individual livelihoods in their jurisdictions.
Sector-specific deep dives: health, housing, elections.
Now, while many of the laws we've discussed apply pretty broadly across the economy or government.
Right, general principles like transparency or non-discrimination.
Exactly. But some sectors are seeing really intense, really focused legislative activity. That's because AI's specific impacts in these areas and the stakes for individuals involved are particularly high.
Okay, which sectors are we talking about?
Health, housing, and elections are probably the prime examples right now where the consequences of AI misuse, or even just unchecked influence, could be severe and immediate for people.
Okay, let's unpack this. These are areas that directly affect pretty much everyone. Let's start with health use. What are states doing there?
Well, a critical subarea within health is prior authorization and claim denials. This is where AI is increasingly being used by insurers or review agents to make decisions about whether your treatment or medication gets approved.
A major source of frustration for patients and doctors.
Absolutely. And states are stepping in. Arizona, for example, enacted House Bill 2175. It directly addresses concerns about these automated denials. It requires a medical director, a human doctor, to individually review claim denials that are based on medical necessity. And it explicitly states they may not rely solely on recommendations from any other source.
Directly targeting AI-driven denials, mandating human review.
Precisely. Florida had proposed bills, H1455A 794, though they failed this session, that aimed to require insurance claim denials to be reviewed, approved, and signed off by qualified human professionals. And they explicitly prohibited AI, machine learning, or automated systems from being the sole basis for denying claims. Very similar principle.
Even if they failed, it shows the legislative intent.
Right. Nevada had a similar bill, S128 vetoed, prohibiting certain health insurers from solely using AI or automated decision tools to deny prior authorization requests. New York has pending bills, A8556S934, that prescribes specific requirements and safeguards for using AI or algorithms in utilization review for health insurance. And Connecticut enacted Senate Bill 10, which does something interesting. It establishes a rebuttable presumption that a healthcare service is medically necessary if it was ordered by a licensed health professional.
What does rebuttable presumption mean here?
It means the burden of proof shifts. Instead of the patient or doctor having to prove the service is necessary, the utilization review company now has to prove it's not necessary.
Makes it harder to deny claims.
Exactly. It imperfectly curbs automated denials by making them harder to justify shifting that burden.
Okay, prior authorization is a big one. What else in healthcare?
Another fascinating area is the regulation of professional titles and impersonation. We touched on this briefly before. Oregon enacted House Bill 2748, which specifies that a non-human entity, including an AI agent, cannot use licensed medical professional titles like registered nurse.
Prevents an AI chatbot from pretending to be a nurse.
Right. Safeguarding patient trust and the integrity of licensed professions. California has a pending bill, A489, with similar intent, prohibiting AI from using terms implying advice is from a licensed human. And New Jersey has pending bills, A5603S4463, that would prohibit advertising an AI system as if it were a licensed mental health professional. protecting vulnerable patients seeking sensitive care.
Makes sense. What about patient data and consent?
Also crucial. On the front of patient consent and data privacy, states are active too. Indiana had a failed bill, H 1620, that would have required healthcare providers and insurers to disclose their use of AI when making decisions or generating communications to a patient about their healthcare. Basic transparency. Illinois has a very interesting bill, House Bill 1806, that's passed the legislature and is waiting for the governor. It's called the Wellness and Oversight for Psychological Resources Act. It includes some powerful provisions. For instance, a licensed mental health professional may not allow an AI system to detect emotions or mental states of a patient.
Wow, restricting AI's use in therapy itself.
Yes, and it also ensures the confidentiality of communications with individuals seeking therapy, potentially limiting how AI can process that sensitive data. Utah also enacted protections, H 452, specifically for users of mental health chatbots, prohibiting certain uses of personal information and requiring disclosures about the AI.
So real efforts to put boundaries around AI in sensitive health interactions.
Definitely. And just one more quick example in health. Texas had a failed bill, H 2298, proposing a grant program to support using AI technology in scanning medical images for cancer detection. Shows the potential positive applications states are also exploring.
Right, it's not all about restriction. Okay, let's switch gears. Housing. You said this was surprisingly active.
It really is.
Here's one that might hit close to home for a lot of listeners.
States are actively trying to prevent AI from influencing your rent. How is that happening?
This is a rapidly emerging area, and it's driven by significant concerns about algorithmic collusion and price fixing in the rental market.
Algorithms colluding. How does that work?
Well, it's often not like a secret backroom deal between humans. It's more subtle. Certain widely used rent-setting software platforms take in vast amounts of data, including sometimes non-public competitor data. The algorithms in these platforms are designed to maximize revenue for landlords. When many landlords in a market use the same or similar software trained on similar data, their recommended rents can all start moving upwards together, even without explicit coordination. So the algorithms kind of inadvertently learn to raise rents collectively.
That's the concern, that they can effectively mimic collusion, leading to unfairly inflated rental costs that hurt tenants, and legislators are responding quickly.
What are they proposing?
A key legislative thrust is trying to prohibit this kind of algorithmic price fixing. For instance, California has a pending bill, A325, making it unlawful to use or distribute pricing algorithms that were trained using non-public competitor data if those algorithms are then used to set or recommend prices in the same market. Directly targets that data sharing issue. Georgia has the pending End Rental Price Fixing Act, H 659. Hawaii has pending bills, H 831 S 157, prohibiting the use of algorithmic price setting in the state's rental market altogether. Illinois has pending legislation, H 1427, creating the Prohibition of Algorithmics in Rent Act, forbidding landlords from using algorithmic devices that rely on non-public competitor data.
So focusing on that non-public data aspect.
That seems to be a key lever they're trying to pull. We see similar efforts to prevent algorithmic rent fixing underway in Massachusetts, multiple pending bills, H 1564, S 994, S 1016. New York, multiple pending bills, a 1417, a 4991, S 2697, deeming it an unfair trade practice. Minnesota, H 10142, S 2087, also linking it to tenant screening software and bias. And New Jersey, multiple pending bills targeting coordination. New Hampshire had a failed bill, H 558, prohibiting landlords from using algorithms to determine rates. Virginia also had failed bills, H 1870 S 1400, proposing to prohibit the sale of algorithmic device services for setting rent.
Wow, that's a lot of states targeting the same issue almost simultaneously.
It really shows how quickly this concern has risen. It's a major focus.
Is there also a human oversight component here, like in health?
Yes. In addition to price fixing, some states are looking at human oversight in housing decisions more broadly. Georgia has that pending Fair and Future-Ready Housing Act, HA 715 we mentioned. It would prohibit using AI or automated decision tools without human oversight in making certain housing determinations like tenant screening or application approvals and require disclosures.
Ensures a human element remains for critical housing access decisions.
Just like we saw in healthcare and criminal justice, yes.
Okay, health and housing. That leaves elections. This feels incredibly crucial, especially with election cycles always seemingly around the corner.
Absolutely critical.
Misinformation generated by AI, deep fakes of candidates. It could severely impact democratic processes, making it harder for you, the voter, to know what's real.
Absolutely. States are very concerned about election integrity in the age of generative AI, and the legislative activity here is robust, focusing mainly on transparency and accountability for synthetic media.
So what are the main approaches?
A primary focus is on disclosure requirements for AI-generated political content. Let people know what they're seeing. We mentioned North Dakota's enacted law, H. 167, requiring prominent disclaimers on political content, using AI to impersonate a human. Nevada also enacted a law, A73, requiring certain election communications using synthetic media to contain a disclosure and be filed with the Secretary of State. Adds that layer of official record keeping.
So you can track where it came from?
Potentially, yes. South Dakota, S164 enacted, Montana, S25 enacted, and Rhode Island, H5872, S816 enacted, have all passed similar laws regulating deepfakes and synthetic media in election communications, requiring disclosures, defining terms, prohibiting deceptive use. California has a pending bill, A502, that gets really specific, setting requirements for the color and font size of the disclosure text. But it also exempts content that already has a disclosure or is clearly satire or parody.
Trying to balance transparency with not stifling commentary or art.
It's a tricky line to draw.
Are states also just banning certain uses
Sure.
beyond disclosure?
Yes. Beyond disclosures, states are also implementing outright prohibitions and penalties for malicious use of AI in elections. Arkansas had a failed bill, H141, that would have prohibited deceptive and fraudulent deepfakes in election communications and allowed for civil penalties. Maryland had those failed bills, H525, trying to prohibit using synthetic media specifically to influence a voter's decision. North Carolina has a pending bill, H375, regulating deepfakes and deceptive ads in elections. And Georgia has a significant pending bill, S9, that would establish actual criminal offenses for fraudulent election interference using AI and also require disclaimers on campaign ads using AI-generated media, taking a very strong stance.
So whether it's your medical treatment, your monthly rent check, or even how you perceive political candidates, AI is already at play.
It's already here, influencing these critical areas.
And states are clearly racing to catch up with its implications, putting rules in place. It's a truly comprehensive, maybe sometimes reactive, but definitely widespread effort to grapple with the broad societal impacts of this technology in these incredibly high-stakes sectors.
A massive undertaking, really.
Connecting the dots, what this means for you.
Okay, wow. We have covered a lot of ground, a dizzying array of legislative activity across the states, from bot disclosure to rent control to deep fake laws.
And that federal compass sort of pointing the way, or at least setting a tone.
Right. So let's try to connect the dots. What does all of this mean for you, the listener, the learner, who just wants to stay well-informed without feeling totally overwhelmed by this tsunami of information?
Yeah, that's the critical question, isn't it? What can we actually infer from this intense state-by-state legislative push? And how does it fit, or maybe not fit, with that broader federal vision? It's clear we're in this period of really dynamic evolution in AI governance, and understanding these underlying currents, these patterns, is probably key to making sense of it all.
So what are some of those key takeaways or patterns you're seeing?
Well, first, the current landscape is very much a piecemeal versus comprehensive kind of situation. It's a patchwork.
A patchwork quilt of laws.
That's a good way to think about it. While some states are setting up broad AI commissions or task forces, like Delaware or Mississippi, to look at the big picture, most of the enacted legislation is tackling specific issues as they arise. Think targeted bills on AI-generated CSAM or deepfakes in elections or that algorithmic rent control stuff.
Reacting to specific problems.
Often, yes. And the consequence for you, the listener, is that protections and regulations will vary, potentially significantly, depending on where you live or maybe where a company you interact with operates. There isn't a unified national standard for many of these things yet. It's a collection of localized responses.
Which can create complexity, I imagine, for businesses and people.
Definitely. An uneven playing field. Second, there's that constant innovation versus regulation tension playing out in the states. States are clearly trying to balance this desire to foster innovation, to use AI for public good. We saw that in the appropriations for AI projects, the new tech divisions.
Encouraging the upside.
Right. But balancing that with the urgent need to protect citizens from misuse and unintended consequences evident in all those criminal use bills, the Consumer Protection Acts, the anti-discrimination efforts.
Guarding against the downside.
Exactly. It's this delicate dance, and this tension often seems to be what drives the specific shape of the legislation that emerges.
Makes sense. What else?
Third, maybe surprisingly, The legislative focus, especially for laws that actually get enacted, tends to be on immediate harms. The most consistently adopted legislation across states addresses clear, present, and often quite egregious harms. Things like child sexual exploitation using AI, deepfakes designed to sway elections, preventing discriminatory or clearly misleading AI interactions.
So less focus on hypothetical future risks, more on problems that are here now.
It seems that way, at least in terms of what's successfully passing into law right now. It suggests that much of the state-level regulatory environment is still reactive, responding to specific incidents or widely recognized tangible threats, rather than being purely proactive about long-term possibilities.
That's an interesting observation.
Yep.
Despite all the talk about existential risks, the laws are about today's problems.
Largely, yes, at the state level. Fourth, we keep coming back to this. That powerful and consistent theme is the human-in-the-loop imperative. Whether it's in health insurance denials, criminal justice risk assessments, housing decisions, there's this clear legislative insistence on meaningful human review and oversight.
Keeping humans in charge of important decisions.
Yes, the goal seems to be ensuring AI acts as an aid, a powerful tool to enhance human capability, but not as a sole autonomous decision maker, especially, again, for those consequential decisions that significantly impact individuals' lives. It's fundamentally about maintaining human accountability and ethical judgment at critical points, and it's perhaps the most widely accepted safeguard emerging across different states and sectors.
Okay, human in the loop.
Yeah.
Anything else?
And finally, underpinning almost everything, there's this overarching call for transparency. Whether it's the disclosure of bots and consumer interactions, the demand for provenance data for generated content so we know what it came from, or those warnings about the potential inaccuracy of AI outputs. Transparency is emerging as a really foundational demand from state legislators.
They want people to know what's going on.
Basically, yes. They want you, the user, the citizen, to know when AI is involved, maybe how it works, at least to a reasonable extent, and what its limitations might be. It's fundamentally about empowering individuals with information in a world that's becoming increasingly driven by these complex, often opaque systems.
So a patchwork approach, tension between innovation and regulation, focus on immediate harms, human in the loop, and a demand for transparency. That sums it up.
Those seem to be the major currents right now, yeah.
It really sounds like we're in this period of intense, rapid legislative experimentation, which is, I guess, both exciting in a way, but also maybe a little chaotic as each state tries to figure out its own path forward.
Exciting and chaotic is a good description.
And for you, the informed citizen, it really means staying alert, doesn't it? Paying attention to how these different state policies, or the lack thereof, might impact your daily life. And recognizing that AI governance is very much a work in progress. It's constantly adapting, constantly evolving as the technology itself evolves.
Absolutely.
It really highlights that the future of AI isn't just being built in Silicon Valley labs. It's also being shaped right now in the legislative chambers in state capitals across the country.
A crucial part of the story.
How true.
Well, we have truly taken a deep dive today, haven't we, into this really intricate world of AI policy.
He certainly covered a lot of ground.
From those broad strokes of federal strategy, that sort of guiding philosophy,
The deregulatory focus, the competitiveness angle.
down to the really detailed, sometimes quite surprising, legislative efforts happening across the individual states. Rent control, robot stalkers, student advisors on AI commissions.
Yeah, the range is pretty amazing. It's just so clear that AI isn't just a technological revolution anymore. It's a fundamental governance challenge.
A huge one.
And every level of government is grappling with it right now in real time,
Yeah.
trying to protect citizens while still, hopefully, fostering innovation.
Yes, and what's particularly striking, I think, is how quickly that definition of responsible use is being hammered out. In legislative chambers, in committee hearings, often, as we saw, in direct response to immediate concerns like deepfakes or algorithmic bias in insurance or housing.
The definition is being written as we speak.
It really highlights the fluidity of it all, how closely technology and policy are intertwined now, and how quickly things can change.
Indeed. So as you go about your week, maybe consider this. How might this fragmented yet rapidly evolving landscape of state-level AI legislation, alongside that federal guidance, how might it ultimately shape not just the future of technology itself, but the very fabric of how we interact?
How we interact with information.
Right, with services.
With each other, even.
Exactly. Maybe think about the subtle ways AI might already be influencing your daily life. The news feed you see, the product recommendations you get, maybe administrative decisions made by algorithms that affect you.
Things we might not even be aware of.
Right. And how all these legislative efforts we discussed are trying, in various ways, to put some guardrails around that influence, to make it more transparent, more fair, more accountable.
It's a massive ongoing project.
It really is. That's a lot to think about, and it's a conversation that will certainly continue to evolve, probably even faster next year.
No doubt about it.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope this has given you a clearer lens, maybe a better map to view this AI revolution that's unfolding all around us.
Hope it's helpful.
Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and stay curious.